Hello, and I'm back with another video. Well, Carolyn Bryant Donham. She was the woman who accusations led to the 1955 lynching of Emmett Till in Mississippi. She has died at the age of 88. She died on Tuesday in Westlake, Louisiana. Her then husband, Roy Bryant, and her brother-in-law, they was the one who beat Emmett. We all know they beat Emmett before shooting him in the head and tossing his body in the river. We all know they was acquitted of the murder. Carolyn said that Emmett grabbed her and she testified that he grabbed her and verbally threatened her. And then it was saying that he had whistled at her. But she had an interview in 2008 with a professor named Timothy Tyson. And he brought that up and she told him that it wasn't true. So a grand jury, they declined to indict her because years later they found some indictment papers in the basement of the courthouse, and it had her name on it. And yeah, it had her name on it, and she was indicted. They supposed to have arrested her, but they refused to arrest her because they say she had kids. Yeah. So this woman have died. People wanted her to get arrested. We all wanted her to get arrested because it was just a sad situation. Because back then, Emmett was 14 years old. We all know he was from Chicago, visiting Mississippi. The movie had came out, Emmett Till. It was so sad. He wanted to go to Mississippi to visit family, and his mother, she did not want him to go down there, but she let him go anyway. She should have, Mamie should have followed her gut. You know, you listen to your gut. She did not want him to go down there. I guess she felt like something was going to happen because back in them days, Mississippi was, a real and it still is a real racist town. Um, you Ever since that movie Mississippi Burning had came out, and I watched that movie years ago. When I was a little girl, that movie just did something to me. I said I was never going to Mississippi. Here in 2023, they still lynching people because it was a guy named Rashid Carter. He got lynched in Taylorsville, Mississippi last year, and no one has been held accountable for it. No one has been arrested of his murder, and they say it's no foul play. But now that whole thing is messed up. I'm gonna do that story too. I'm waiting on some more information to come out. But back to Carolyn. Everybody, I think she had cancer and she had dementia. She's 88 years old. Her husband, he died, and both of the husband and the brother-in-law, both of them died. They died like in the one, I think the brother-in-law died in 80, and Carolyn's husband Roy, he died in 94 and 95. So they've been dead for a while now. So but her and Roy had broke up. I heard he had remarried. And Carolyn was, got dementia and stuff. And then somebody had found her because she was down here in North Carolina. She was in Raleigh, and some protesters found her. They demanded for her arrest. One of the guys that was in the protests and stuff, I'm following him on Facebook, and I had told him, I said, they is not going to arrest her. Trust me, they ain't going to arrest her. Oh, she need to be. I said, yeah, she need to be held accountable, but they not going to do nothing to her because they going to look at that's her age, and she had health issues. I was told she had dementia and all that. Just let her live out her days. The way this what I said. Just let her live out her days and just let the Lord handle her, cause He's handling her. He gonna handle her because she changed her story. She said that Emmett didn't do that. But back in them days and stuff, we just don't know what happened. All we know, what we see and what we Google, and then they done had like 2 or 3 movies and documentaries to come out. All I know is in the movie, he went in there with some cousins, and she said he whistled at her and stuff, and that just set it all off. Even, I mean, let's just say if he did whistle at her, which I know you back in them days we wasn't supposed to do that. Black folks wasn't supposed to do that back in them days or whatever. But Emmett was a child, but they didn't care nothing about that. Her husband and brother-in-law, they kidnapped that boy. He was over his uncle's house, ordered him out the bed into a truck. He was in some kind of barns, and you had some people say they heard him scream, but they didn't do nothing. Then they tied a fan gin or some kind of fan or something around his neck and tossed his body in that river like he wasn't nothing. Then they was acquitted of it, which back in them days, they out they acquit a lot of people back then, white people that killed black people. I'm not being racist and stuff. But then later on, they did an interview with a magazine, and back then I think they got paid like $3,000 or $4,000. That was a lot of money back then in the 50s or in the 60s. They admitted to everything, but they couldn't recharge them. So they admitted to killing Emmett, and it was just sad. And I don't know how she walked around here. I'm sure she felt guilt. I'm pretty sure. I said every time she closed her eyes, I hope she's seen Emmett. Because that shouldn't have happened to him. That shouldn't happen to nobody. I don't care what color he is. But Mississippi was, whoo, yeah, it was something else back then, and it's something else now because they still doing stuff or whatever. But yeah, this woman have died. Her shameful lies and cost a young black boy his life. He lost his precious life. He was his mama only child. That's what I felt sad about his mother, because she didn't, like I say, she did not want him to go down there. If you feel that way or whatever, follow your gut or whatever. You shouldn't have let him win. I'm not blaming her because she have passed too. She passed about a couple of years ago and stuff. I wouldn't have let my child go. She knew how, how it is back there in Mississippi back in them days. You ever watched that movie Mississippi Burning? It was bad. It was bad. It really was. That was a good movie, but it was just bad. And when I was a little girl, when I seen that movie, I think, when did that movie come out? Was I 13? I said I wasn't. I wasn't never going down there. But yeah, she had passed. They didn't indict her, which I knew they wasn't going to indict her, and people was getting mad. Emmett's family, his surviving cousins, and I think he got some aunts and stuff, their great aunts and stuff. They wanted her arrested, which she should have been arrested, but they didn't. And I think the reason why they did it, because, she had all these health issues. She got dementia. I think she had cancer, I'm going to say allegedly. I think, yeah, there's something. And she was moving, bouncing around too, because people was finding her where she was at. She was like in hiding and stuff. I know she was scared. And you're not gonna sit there and tell me this woman, she ain't thinking about what she did or whatever. You're not gonna tell me she ain't. And that was a 14-year-old boy, down here visiting from Chicago, and then that happened. And it just, the whole thing, how they try to cover the whole thing up. If you watch the movie or whatever, they didn't want to. I'm glad, it was a sad situation to see him laying in that casket like that. But when I was a little girl, I was saying I wouldn't have opened the casket. But now I see why she did it. She wanted the world to see Emmett's mom, what they did to her son, and that was uncalled for. That was a 14-year-old boy. That was real uncalled for. So now I see why she did it, because they try to sweep it up under the rug. They want her to go ahead and bury him, this and that. She said no, and it was just a sad situation, to see your child laying up in there dismembered, ear missing. He was unrecognizable. How he was looking, we all seen that. How he was looking laying up in that casket. So yeah, she died. I hope she had a talk with the Lord. I don't know. You're not, like I say, you're not gonna sit there and tell me she wasn't thinking about that. Back in them days, they don't care, but you got to get old. And then her husband and brother-in-law, they didn't feel no kind of remorse about what they did, because they did interviews and stuff I was Googling and all that, but they was having hardship. And I said that was their karma, because Carolyn and her husband was running that store, the one that Emmett had came in, and they had black people working for them, but wouldn't no black people work for them. So then they had to hire white people. So then they had to pay them more money. That was when the black people was working for them, they paid them less money, and he had to close the store down. And then the brother-in-law, I think he was running the business too. Same thing. They had to, wouldn't no black people work for them. You had to pay the white people more money. So they couldn't afford to pay, the white people. So they had to close their business down and stuff. They was having hardship. And I just say that's their karma. I think both of them had cancer and stuff. Yeah, so. Yeah, Carolyn has died. It is what it is. So she gonna have to meet her maker. The Lord will talk to her. When it's our time, he'll tell us everything we didn't did. We're gonna. So it is what it is. That's her now. Um, Like I said, they were saying that she was. I know she was in. Was it Raleigh, North Carolina? Because there was some protesters that was down here in my area. They went live on Facebook and stuff. She was over. Supposed to have been her granddaughter's house. It was at apartment complex and stuff. And she was just bouncing around here and there. I'm like, y'all just leave that woman alone, cause she gonna get hers. So that's the end of this story, and I'm out.